New overnight in the death of Fidel Castro, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro mourning the loss of the former Cuban leader. And new for you to see this morning, the late leader's successor, Raul Castro, bidding his brother a final farewell. All of this broadcast on state TV. Tens of thousands of people came to La Plaza de la Revolucion to pay their final respects on Tuesday. People waited in long lines for several hours, well until late into the night, and the mourning will continue today. Local 10, the one and only South Florida station that is bringing you live team coverage on the death of Fidel Castro from Havana. Local 10 News reporter Hatzel Vela joining us live this morning with more on the mourning and the mood. Hatzel, set the scene today because they only have until noon for the public farewell, right?
Yeah, it's a little different than yesterday. What we saw yesterday was at 9 a.m. they opened the doors here at the Jose Marti Memorial at the Plaza de la Revolucion. Today, the same thing, except that it will go until noon, which means people will be able to line up and go inside, pay their respects. But at this point, we're not quite sure if they will extend that because there was so much outpour last night or throughout the day yesterday. Not sure if that's going to be extended beyond noon, but that is the cutoff time, we're being told. And between noon and 7 o'clock, not sure what's happening, but I can tell you at 7 o'clock, there will be a mass gathering right behind me. This is the Plaza de la Revolucion, and we are expecting to see dignitaries from all around the world and Latin America, specifically a lot of allies of the former Cuban leader like Nicolas Maduro, as you mentioned. And we're also expecting likely to see a current president, Raul Castro, here as well, likely addressing the thousands of people that will gather here as well. So a lot of things happening today. Remember, then his ashes will be transferred, eventually end up in Santiago de Cuba, where they will be interred at a very, very highly profile cemetery that has been there for hundreds of years.
And Hatzel, you know, we saw tens of thousands of people in line. What's kind of been the mood there going into day 2 of this memorial, and any people we've talked about and heard that they were pledging certain things? Can you kind of elaborate on that for us?
Really night and day. It's fascinating because I grew up in South Florida, and so I saw what was happening in South Florida, in Miami, after the announcement of the death took place. So there was a lot of cheering, a lot of celebration, but you walk along the lines here and there's a lot of folks that are just in a somber mood. Some folks break down. There was a woman who was 76 years old, born before the revolution, and she told me that this is the guy that she adored. This is the man that made a difference in the lives of many Cubans. And as she's continued to talk about him, she started breaking down. This is an elderly woman who was using a cane to walk the line, had been in line for several hours, and I asked she and others if they were here on their own free will. She said, of course, nobody's forcing us. This is our duty. This is our commitment. This is what we should be doing to pay respects to our former leader. Remember, these are people that have been under the rule of Castro for several decades. So imagine us back in America having the same president for several decades, and how can you not understand why these people are now paying their respects and getting emotional really here at the plaza, and specifically when they go inside and see the images.
Only one place that you can see continuous live coverage from Havana. That is right here on Local 10. Hatzel Vela bringing us the very latest this morning from La Plaza de la Revolucion. Hatzel, we'll check in with you later on this morning. A 21-gun salute held for the former leader as people gathered for the memorial. A soldier who took part expressing her sadness, saying Fidel Castro's death is a shock.
I'm very moved because I have never thought I was going to have to say goodbye to my commander. He is the greatest thing we have had in our history because we won't ever be able to have him here with us again, to touch him, to listen to his words up to the podium, and to hear his thoughts.
Well, tomorrow, Castro's ashes will begin a 3-day transfer across the island, retracing the march of his rebel army from the mountains to the capital.
Stay with Local 10 News for continuous live team coverage from Cuba. Hatzel, along with our colleagues Calvin Hughes and Glenna Milberg, will be in Cuba all this week covering the death and funeral of Fidel Castro. And you can get up-to-the-minute reports on the death of Fidel Castro anytime just by logging on to local10.com. Remember, you can take us anywhere you go with your smartphone or tablet.